Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube channel. This time, we're doing a special episode on whether to buy or sell rookie picks in the 2024 class. But before I jump into it, make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's go. So first up, the 101. And of course, we're doing super flex leagues here. So the current pick is Caleb Williams. And I like the value of Caleb Williams. He is going to come into the NFL as a top dynasty quarterback. So in general, this year, I haven't seen many trades with the 101. Most of the time, I've been recommending to just hang on to the 101, not do anything crazy. And yeah, it's probably the most boring advice, but I haven't seen much with the 101. Next up, 102. And the current pick in my rankings is Marvin Harrison Jr. Overall, kind of feel like the 102 is a little bit of a sell. I love Marvin Harrison Jr., but it's not a quarterback like Caleb Williams. There are other great prospects in this class. And I feel like you can tier down to 103 to 105. It's usually the move I'm looking to do. So some trade ideas to sell the 102. 102 for the 105 and the 25 first. It'll probably be Malik Nabers, and you can get a 25 first on top. 102 for 103 and a 25 second. You can get your choice of quarterbacks and a second back with them. So overall, I find that, like I said, the 102, it's something I would put on the block. I've almost never liked the price to buy the 102. That I've almost never seen that I want to do. So usually I'm selling, but like I would say, all of these picks, I'm open to any moves if I like the value. These recommendations are based on what I've seen more of, not that I'd only do one thing. 103 to 105. So I grouped these together because I feel like this is a tier. Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye, and Malik Nabers. And right now I have it in that order. But they're very close. They're very, very close in value. Landing spot for Daniels and Maye is going to decide a little bit. You know, if it stays as it is right now, whoever goes to the Commanders at 2 is probably going to be 103. Whoever goes to the Patriots at 3 will probably be 104. But if the Vikings get in the mix somehow with one of these two quarterbacks, that player would probably be the 103. I have Daniels and Maye very close. And then Malik Nabers is an excellent wide receiver prospect. So these are very valuable players. Now, what to do with the 103 to 105, right? So overall, I would say the best approaches with these picks are to trade within the tier or to sell for a veteran quarterback. Now, what are some ideas of how you can do that? So like I said, I like these three players pretty much equally. So with that in mind, you could trade the 103 for the 105 in an early 24 second, like the 201, let's say. You could, if you don't need a quarterback, you could tier down. Maybe you'll get a quarterback anyway. You don't know what the people in front of you are going to do. But you can get Malik Nabers and something on top for one of those quarterbacks, which I would love to do. Now, let's say you wanted a quarterback. How about the 104 for Anthony Richardson or Kyler Murray? I feel like Kyler Murray is always undervalued. I don't know if I would love to have like Drake Maye over Kyler Murray. We know that Kyler Murray is good for fantasy and also for real life. We don't know that about Drake Maye. Anthony Richardson, I think, has more upside, certainly, than Drake Maye. You know, maybe than Jayden Daniels too. I mean, we saw already Anthony Richardson translate a little bit to the NFL. So this would be the kind of trade I would look if I'm selling the 104. And then the 105, I know Trevor Lawrence is kind of on my list of buys. I still think he's a really good quarterback. And if I could get this type of quarterback in a Superflex league for just the 105, I would definitely try to do that. So just some ideas of how you can work with the 103 to 105. Again, I really like all of these players. I like Jayden Daniels. I like Drake Maye. I like Malik Nabers. But that doesn't mean that I'm unwilling to trade these picks. So if you can get a good value, I'm happy to trade them. 106 to 108. And I like this range as well. I mean, the current everyone pretty much at 106 to 108 has Odunze, Brock Bowers, and JJ McCarthy, with how you value Brock Bowers based on how much of a tight end premium there is. But for pretty much everyone, this is the next three players. So it's a lot of chalk in this draft, which makes trading within the draft interesting, makes trading for veterans or veterans for picks more interesting, because you're more likely to get a good value based on how someone values a veteran player versus the rookie draft, which everyone is kind of chalky. There's not a lot of differences in people's values. Now, what would I recommend here? I like buying these picks. This is the value to me. The 106 to 108 range. This is the value. This is the place where I'm in on buying at their cost. Here's some ideas. Now, you'll notice that these have something in common. 110 and 201 for 107. 109 and 112 for 106. 109 and Jayden Reed for 106. And DK Metcalf for 108. So what are we doing here? We're taking, you'll hear when we get to the next tier, the 109 to 112, and kind of other assets. Jayden Reed is one, but there are other assets. Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Rashad White. These kind of middling assets that we want to get rid of to move up into this 106 to 108 range to get one of these players who I see as a cornerstone asset. So these are cornerstone assets. If you can trade two meh assets, like 109 and 112, for one cornerstone asset, I usually like doing that. So this 106 to 108 range, because 103 to 105 is expensive, 106 to 108 is a discount on that, I would be looking to trade into this range. Now, lastly, and we'll close here for this video. And let me know if you like this, because we'll do this for the second round too. 109 to 112. Right now, I have Brian Thomas Jr. as the clear 109, and then kind of a grouping that includes Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Lad McConkey, but also Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, maybe Bo Nix or Michael Penix in Superflex. If they get in the first round, Keon Coleman, Troy Franklin, Jalen Wright. I mean, they're all possibly in this range, depending on how the draft shakes out. Now, this range, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the value. And my overall recommendation is to sell, especially the 111 and 112. Why is that? It's a great question you might be asking me. Why the 111 and 112 specifically to sell over the 109 and 110? Why is that? The reason for that is because I like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot. For me, he's kind of a half tier above the rest of the assets. So I feel a little bit better about 109. Then as for 110, you're probably going to get a player who goes to a really good landing spot and the value goes up. Someone goes wide receiver to Bills, for example. But once you start to get to 111 or 112, then you got to get lucky twice. And the reason I like selling 111 and 112 is because they still have that one in front of it. They have that one. People see one and they're like, oh, first round pick, really valuable. Whereas is the difference between the 111 and the 204 in this class really going to be a lot? I mean, you heard me list. I listed 6, 7, 8 potential more players, I think, who could be in this tier. So the 111 and the 112 are big sells for me. Big sells. I really don't want them. Here's some trades that I saw. And this is probably the most actionable part of this and what I've been doing the most. 111 and Jonathan Taylor for Bijan Robinson. I think this was a Patreon trade that I helped someone through. To tier up from Jonathan Taylor to Bijan Robinson at just the cost of the 111, I would absolutely do that. I'm not going to miss Adonai Mitchell if it gets me Bijan Robinson. Then some trades to get out. 111 for Jackson Smith and Jigba. This one I have seen. People are a little low on JSN. And, rookie fever. Woo, yay. First round pick. Woo. I don't know. I don't think you're going to get anyone at 111 with anywhere near the profile of Jackson Smith and Jigba. So he's younger than some of the wide receivers in this class. I would absolutely do this trade if I could. And then also a buy low on Tank Dell, 112 for Tank Dell. You might not even need to pay that much. But Tank Dell was very successful as a rookie. And, you're going to be getting someone who's such a maybe that if you could send the 112 for Tank Dell, I would absolutely do that. Especially given that he's tied to such a strong quarterback in CJ Stroud. Now, if you like this exercise, I can talk about it on the video, but the real way to get my trade advice is through the Patreon at patreon.com/fantasyadvice. I'll walk you through all your trades in the Patreon Discord. You can ask any trade question. We'll talk about it. We're not going to do that on Twitter anymore. We're not going to do that. That's only going to take place in the Patreon Discord and also here on the YouTube channel. We'll talk about trades, but all of those trades come from the Patreon Discord. All trades read on the show come from the Patreon Discord from my patrons. And additionally, patrons get to ask advanced questions for the YouTube channel. I have a couple of them here, which we'll talk through. But if you want to support the channel the best, or me, or my content, or whatever, the best way to do that is becoming a patron. Nothing else is as important. That's really the way to go. So we'll read the Patreon questions now. Is DK Metcalf a buy? Not really. Not really. I don't think so. I think he's valued pretty fairly. He's 26 years old in a crowded offense. If he doesn't hit this big this year, his value is going to drop even more. So, I mean, kind of like what we talked about in that 109 to 112 range. Like if he could send the 111 for DK Metcalf, I probably would. But like, can you do that? I think he still carries a lot of name value. So I'm going to say not really, no. Speaking of the Seahawks, do you think Sam Howell could overtake Geno Smith for the starting gig this year? I really, really do not expect that to happen. Let's look at what they did last year. Howell, 63.4% completion, 21 touchdowns, 21 picks, 21 interceptions. Think about that for a second. 6.4 yards per attempt. Geno Smith, in contrast, better completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 7.3 yards per attempt. And if you look at the advanced grades, I mean, Sam Howell was awful. I mean, absolutely awful. And Geno Smith, he could have had even more turnovers. And Geno Smith was actually rated pretty highly. So I'm not saying that Geno Smith is great, but we saw that on the Commanders when Jacoby Brissett entered the game, the offense improved. And Jacoby Brissett is not as good as Geno Smith. So the answer is no. If Geno Smith is healthy, I expect him to start the entire year. If it doesn't work out, I think that they'll be looking for an entirely new quarterback in 2025. I think Sam Howell is a backup. They acquired a backup. I think it was a good move to acquire a backup. But, you know, I don't think they see Sam Howell as a future starter. They paid almost nothing for him. Last question. I am interested in how you approach your draft picks. When on the clock, what is your process? Do you always wait a set time to see if any offers come in? Are you sending out potential trades? No, I'm not waiting. Waiting is bad. Passivity, that doesn't pay off. Well, in life, if you are aggressive in life, do you usually get what you want? Or do you just wait and that's how you get what you want? No, you don't wait. You must be aggressive about sending offers. If you want something, you have to ask for it. You got to be aggressive. Talk to multiple managers at once. Look at multiple different ideas at once. Aggression, aggression, aggression. That's how you play on the clock. Don't wait. People always say, oh, I should wait for people to come to me. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. That's a terrible strategy. Just be straightforward, be aggressive, and make moves. And I think, if you have smart ideas, some of them will happen. So that would be my recommendation. And yeah, make sure to be creative. Trade for future picks, trade for veterans. Be open to all possible ideas, and that'll increase your odds of getting a trade that you want. Now, I want to thank everyone for watching. I actually really enjoyed recording this video, so hopefully that came across. And yeah, we're going to keep covering rookies, all sorts of different rookie content throughout the week. During the NFL draft, we're going to have videos. We're going to have lots of stuff, putting the rookies in my Dynasty rankings after the NFL draft. A lot of content related to rookies on this channel. So like I said at the beginning, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all of the content I've got here. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later. Peace out.